Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This week, we're looking at the source stack from the Retter Reboot, and honestly, it felt less like a series of headlines and more like, well, a collection of shockwaves.
That's a good way to put it. The AI arms race seems to have found a new gear. We're not talking about gradual improvements anymore.
No, we're talking maximum competitive velocity.
Exactly. And when you pull out the key nuggets from the stack, the theme is just simultaneous high-stakes acceleration. You've got OpenAI and Google making these huge moves on the very same day.
Right.
And it's not just about models. It's strategy, it's IP, it's standardization, even geopolitics. So for you, the learner, this deep dive is really a shortcut to seeing how the ground is shifting, as we head into this era of truly autonomous AI.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Because the core story this week was a direct volley right at the top.
Yeah.
It felt like two chess masters making moves in real time.
It really did.
So let's start with OpenAI. They rolled out GPT 5.2, and our sources are pretty explicit about this. This was a calculated, powerful response.
It wasn't a routine update, no. This was positioned directly against Google's internal code red push.
And the improvements are the key takeaway.
Okay.
Right? What are we talking about specifically?
We're talking significantly stronger reasoning, faster response times, and this is the critical part, enhanced coding and agentic functionalities.
Agentic. That's the word of the week?
It is. They're basically trying to prove that their core model is still the smartest brain in the room.
But then Google's response was different. It wasn't just a bigger model.
No, and that's what makes this so fascinating. On the very same day, Google didn't just launch a chatbot competitor. They launched their most sophisticated AI research agent to date.
Tell us more about that, because that pivot from a general model to a dedicated autonomous tool that feels like a massive signpost for where this is all going.
It is the defining move. This agent is designed to handle entire complex research workflows on its own.
What did that look like in practice?
Well, imagine you need to synthesize all the global research on a super niche scientific topic.
Yeah.
This agent autonomously plans the investigation. It gathers sources from the web, from internal data, it runs simulations, it cross-references results.
And then it just gives you a report at the end.
A fully structured, synthesized report. The human input goes from, constant interaction to just setting that initial high-level goal.
So the contrast is pretty stark. OpenAI is saying, our core brain is faster and smarter.
Right.
And Google is saying, we've built the most capable AI employee that can do a complex job without you holding its hand.
That's a perfect way to frame it.
But that raises a big question for me. If we're handing over complex research to an autonomous agent, what happens to human oversight?
Wait, is the key risk here that we just lost the ability to audit the process?
That is the crucial consideration. It's about control.
Mm-hmm.
If the system is truly autonomous planning, executing, synthesizing the human, is, by design, removed from those critical decision points.
And the output could look perfect, but you wouldn't know if it was based on flawed reasoning or biased sources deep inside the workflow. Exactly. The goal is automation, but the trade-off is a potential black box in the actual research journey.
So it's the difference between hiring a brilliant consultant who shows their work and a machine that just hands you the finished report. This whole dual launch, it really underscores that the arms race isn't about better text anymore.
No, it's about the race to create the first reliably intelligent, autonomous, and maybe auditable AI colleague. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Because if we're going to use these autonomous systems, we need the tools to actually build with them.
We do. And that takes us right into the developer ecosystem, where the speed of creation is just warping everyone's expectations.
I thought Google's new tool, Disco, was absolutely wild. It's powered by Gemini, and it seems to tackle a huge problem for developers, just getting started.
It's genuinely groundbreaking. So Disco's function is, it looks at your open browser tabs, the content, the design elements, things you're looking at for inspiration.
Okay.
And it analyzes your intent from those tabs. Then it uses Gemini to build a working web application from scratch.
You're kidding.
It generates the logic, the UI components, the workflows. You're not copying code anymore. You're just pointing the AI at your research, and it builds the thing.
Wow. So it completely blurs the line between browsing for ideas and actually generating the product.
Yeah, it really does.
That speed is incredible, but it brings up a structural question. If everyone is building these super powerful autonomous tools, isn't the whole system going to get fragmented? You'll have Google agents that can't talk to OpenAI agents.
A bunch of walled gardens. Yes, and that's exactly why the standardization push we saw this week was so critical.
This was the Linux Foundation initiative.
Exactly. A huge collaboration. You had the Linux Foundation, but also OpenAI, Anthropic, and this is key blocking.
Block, formerly Square, so finance and payments.
Right. Getting them all in the same room is a really big deal. They recognize that these agentic systems can't reach their potential if they're all just proprietary silos.
So what are they actually standardizing?
They're focused on open standards, shared protocols, uniform interfaces. They want to make sure that an accounting agent can reliably and safely talk to a calendar agent, regardless of who built the underlying LLM.
So what does all this mean for you, the learner? It means the AI tools you'll be using are being designed for integration, not isolation.
The real power isn't going to be one single genius agent. It's going to be a reliable, interoperable network of specialized AIs all working together. It's a foundational move toward global compatibility.
Okay, so we've got deep R&D and developer infrastructure, but what about the stuff that people can use right now, the more immediate practical application?
Well, let's talk about online shopping.
Ah, yes. The universal pain of ordering clothes online, having them show up completely wrong, and then having to do the whole return process.
We've all been there. Google seems to be taking a direct shot at that friction point.
With their virtual try-on tool.
Yes, but with a major update. And the key nugget that makes this so much more viable is that it now only requires a single selfie.
Just one photo. No complicated measurements.
None. The AI maps the garment onto your body in that photo, and it adjusts the fit, the drape, the appearance, all based on your specific pose and proportions.
That's a huge practical leap. It takes so much of the uncertainty out of it. It's a great example of AI just solving a common, annoying problem.
It is. But speaking of things you put on your body, the source material also pointed to a big future hardware play.
Right. The AI-powered smart glasses. They're on the horizon for 2026.
And this is Google re-entering that market, but with a completely different playbook. I think they've learned their lesson. The entire device is being built around Gemini-driven intelligence.
We've seen smart glasses fail before, though. They were clunky or invasive or just didn't have a killer app. Why would this time be any different?
Because the brain is finally ready for the hardware.
What do you mean?
The earlier attempts relied on weak, siloed software. Now you have Gemini, this incredibly powerful, context-aware engine that's driving the whole experience.
So it enables features that were basically science fiction before.
Exactly. Flawless, real-time translation just by looking at someone. Visual search that identifies objects around you. Navigation overlays. Contextual notifications that actually matter. It's all happening passively as you move through the world.
It changes the whole value proposition. The intelligence is what unlocks the utility. It turns a gadget into a seamless assistant.
Right. But as AI gets integrated into everything, our shopping, our glasses, we inevitably hit that central tension of the digital age.
Content ownership and intellectual property.
And this week showed us a couple of different ways major players are trying to manage that.
The landmark deal between Disney and OpenAI seems like the perfect place to start. For a company that guards its IP so fiercely, this feels like a major shift.
It's a calculated compromise, I think. The deal lets Sora, OpenAI's video model, generate videos with Disney characters.
But under very strict conditions.
Very strict. Licensed, controlled conditions. This isn't a free-for-all for anyone to use Mickey Mouse. Disney's using it for specific, guarded purposes, marketing, creative experiments, while keeping absolute control. And, of course, getting compensated.
So that's a pivotal moment for Hollywood. The biggest media companies are moving from an adversarial stance to a licensed partnership model.
They're essentially saying, we can't stop this, so we're going to control it and monetize it.
And that need for clear control leads right into the other big standardization effort we saw.
The RSL specification for content usage.
Yes.
This tackles that core tension between AI companies and publishers head-on.
What does RSL offer that, say, a standard copyright notice doesn't?
Clarity and automation. It's a machine-readable way for a publisher to signal exactly what an AI system can and cannot do with their content.
Like a universal digital contract?
Kind of. You can use RSL tags to say, you can summarize this article, but you can't use it for model training. Or training is allowed, but only if you follow this compensation model. It moves the whole debate from vague legal threats to clear digital rules.
So instead of scraping everything and hoping for the best, the AI models get clear, automated guardrails. But even with standardization, the regulators are still coming.
Of course. And this week we saw the EU open an antitrust probe into Google's AI search.
And this is all about the money.
It's about financial survival for content creators. The EU is looking at whether Google's AI summaries are unfairly cannibalizing the original articles.
Because if the AI gives you the perfect answer, you never have to click the link.
And if you don't click the link, the publisher gets no traffic, no ad revenue, and their business model collapses. So it raises this really important question about whether generative AI search can even coexist with content creation without some kind of massive financial redistribution.
All right, so none of these advanced systems, not the agents, not the video, not the smart glasses, can exist without the physical hardware, the chips.
The chips, and this is where the stakes get incredibly high.
The source material this week detailed a report linking the big Chinese AI startup, DeepSeek, to restricted NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs.
And this wasn't just a small, shady deal. This was part of a massive, coordinated effort. The U.S. Department of Justice uncovered a $160 million chip smuggling operation.
$160 million. That number alone tells you these chips are being treated like irreplaceable national assets. Why the Blackwell chips specifically? What makes them worth that kind of risk?
Because they represent the absolute cutting edge of compute power needed to train the next generation of models.
So models like GPT 5.2 or Google's advanced agents.
Exactly. These aren't general-purpose chips. They're specialized for the enormous scale required for those next-gen AIs. If a country or a company can't get these chips, they simply cannot compete in this accelerating arms race.
So that $160 million risk, it tells you that they believe the strategic advantage of getting the chips far outweighs the penalties of getting caught.
It's the ultimate choke point. If data is the new oil, then these advanced chips are the custom-built refineries. And controlling access to those refineries is now a primary tool of geopolitical power.
It's straining global export regulations to their absolute limit.
So when you step back, the Retter Reboot stack this week really shows this relentless tension. You have incredible competitive acceleration OpenAI versus Google met with this equally rapid push for standardization.
Right, for agents with the Linux Foundation and for content rights with RSL.
And all of that innovation is colliding with these powerful forces of control and friction. You see it in the EU probe and you see it in the crackdown on chip smuggling.
And that tension, that's the narrative thread. On one hand, the world desperately needs global AI interoperability.
Yeah.
That's the Linux Foundation's goal, right?
Yeah.
Get our systems to talk to each other. But at the exact same time, there's this growing geopolitical desire for technical isolation, for controlling access to critical resources like Blackwell chips.
Yeah, a push and a pull.
Exactly. So here's the thought to leave you with. Given the incredible pace of this AI arms race, how will the increasing need for global technical interoperability ultimately reconcile with the increasing geopolitical desire for technical isolation? That's the fascinating conflict you'll be watching unfold this week. We'll see you next time for the next Deep Dive.